Okay, thank you for your patience. We do have a quorum, so I think we can go ahead and get started, but I did want to let everybody know that the voting slides are not working right now, so we won't have a visual representation of the votes, but I'll call it out for you.
Okay, great. Then we will get started. Thank you everyone for your patience. Welcome to the September 18th SANDAG Public Safety Meeting. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So Francesca, do I need you to confirm again that we have a quorum?
Yes, Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Then before we get started, we have a birthday among us. Mayor Sotelo Solis is celebrating a birthday today. So just want to wish her happy birthday on behalf of everyone at SANDAG and the Public Safety Committee. I hope you're having a wonderful day with your family. And thanks for being here with us for a little while.
Thank you. I wouldn't want to spend it any other way than doing the will of the people.
Right.
And around you fabulous people. Thank you.
All right. I'd also like to welcome 3 new members to the committee. We have Chief Chuck Kay from the Coronado Police Department, who is representing the San Diego County Chiefs Sheriff's Association. Newly appointed Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Suzanne Turner, and Interim MTS Director, Tim Curran. So welcome to the 3 of you. Thanks for joining us today. I'd like to remind everyone of our process for both members and public comments. The committee members will be using their cameras and we will take live public comments. Members are asked to turn on their cameras when they have a comment or question, and then I'll recognize you. If you are a member of the public and would like to speak on an item, please use the raise hand icon in the Zoom toolbar and unmute yourself when you are called on. Please also remember to mute yourself after your comments. If you are calling into the meeting, please press *9 on your phone if you would like to comment on an item. All comments, whether emailed or live, will be made a part of today's meeting record. With that, we'll move on to item number 1, approval of meeting minutes from the August 21st, 2020 meeting. And if you are a member of the public that would like to make a comment, please raise your hand now. And I'll rely on Francesca to let me know if we have any.
Chair, I do not see any hands raised.
And are there any public safety members that would like to comment? Scroll down, I'm not seeing anyone. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Sotelo Solis, motion to approve.
Thank you. A second?
Rick Vogt will
Mike
second.
Barnett with a second.
Thank you very much. Then we have a motion by Mayor Sotelo Solis and a second by Under Sheriff Barnett. I'll ask the clerk for a roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the County Chief Sheriff's Association, Chief Gallucci. I believe he may be absent. I'll move. Oh, I apologize. Bear with me one moment. For North County Coastal, Keith Blackburn, Vice Chair.
Blackburn, aye.
Thank you. From the City of San Diego, Councilmember Moreno.
Moreno, aye.
Thank you. From the County of San Diego, Supervisor Cox.
Hi, this is Kia Pollard, Policy Advisor for Chairman Cox. He stepped out for a moment and we'll be right back.
No problem at all. I'll come back at the end.
Okay, thank you.
For North County Inland, Chair Frank.
Yes.
For South County, Sotelo Solis.
Sotelo Solis, aye.
Thank you. I apologize. First time clerking situation. My list is a little out of order. For County Chief Sheriff's Association, it will Is Chuck K the member representing today?
Chuck Hayes, aye.
Thank you so much. For Regional Fire Emergency Medical Services, Chief Boyd.
Chief vote is aye.
Thank you. For San Diego County District Attorney, Chief Investigator Duran. All right, I'll move on and come back. For San Diego County Sheriff's Department, Under Sheriff Barnett.
Barnett is aye. Thank you.
Thank you. And for San Diego Police Department, Chief Nislet. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. And I believe they are absent as well, so I'll come back. County of San Diego Supervisor Cox. I think they are still absent, so we'll go ahead and mark them absent for this. And one more time for San Diego County District Attorney.
Francesca, Joe Cargill is here for the DA, but he's still on the attendee list, so can't speak.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, let's.
We also moved Matt Cruz over, so he's a non-voting member, but he's on the attendee list.
I see. Just a moment. Let me have production take care of that. Thank you all for your patience. I'm going to go ahead and mark Mr. Cargill as absent unless you give one more shot. Oh,
I just got back in. I was kicked off, but yes, aye on that vote, and I'll see if I can finish working out the technical difficulties here real quick.
okay. Thanks so much. I'm so sorry for all the difficulties. That item does pass.
No problem. Thank you, Francesca. I know there's a lot of craziness going on with all of this, so thank you to everybody. We'll move on to item 2 on our agenda, public and member comment regarding any issues not on today's agenda. If a member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand.
Chair, I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, moving from that, do any PSC members have any comments to offer? All right, I'm not seeing any, so we will move on to item 3, Executive Director Report, an update on key programs, projects, and agency initiatives, including the agency's response to COVID-19, San Diego Forward, the 2021 Regional Plan, and the Airport Connectivity Project. Jim Linthicum will be providing this report. Jim, hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Chair. Thank you very much. And apologies from Hassan. He's unable to join us this afternoon. Just a quick update on some of our key projects. You may have heard of Assembly Bill 2731, and that provides CEQA streamlining. And that passed, or excuse me, CEQA streamlining for our Central Mobility Hub, and that passed both houses of the legislature and now awaits the governor's signature, and all indications are that's going to be a go. We're continuing work on the Del Mar Bluffs. The reinforcement is one of our highest priority projects. And we are hopeful of actually receiving this December $36 million from the state of California as part of SB1. We have a grant application in for that. And that will allow us to complete not only the existing stage that's under construction, but the next stage of the Del Mar Bluffs under construction. So we're getting there. And then the last update I wanted to provide was the Midcoast Trolley Project. You might have seen some very positive press yesterday. And then a great photograph from a construction person, a great photograph of the tunnel of La Jolla Colony Drive in the UT today in Section B. The work's still progressing. It's going to wrap up next year, late next year, on time and under budget. And so it's always good to see things like that, for the public to see like that. So that concludes my report, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have any comments from members of the public on this item?
I do not see any hands raised, Chair.
Okay, and any member comments? I do not see any, so we will move on. Item number 4, report from the Chief Sheriff's Management Committee. We've got Chief Chuck Kay here with us to provide a report from the September 2nd, 2020 meeting. Thank you for being here, Chief.
Thank you very much. If you could come back to me, I've got to get my stuff organized. Thank you.
Not a problem. We'll jump over to item 5, a report from the San Diego County Fire Chiefs Association from Chief Vogt. Is it Vogt? Is that how you say it?
It's Vogt, correct.
Okay, from the September 3rd, 2020 meeting.
Okay, I figured I'd start with a bit of a situation report on the fires throughout California and San Diego County, since that's something that's facing all of us, well, again, throughout the state. 2020 has seen an unprecedented amount of fires in California, particularly since mid-August. And since the beginning of 2020, there have been nearly 7,900 wildfires that have burned over 3.4 million acres in California. Since August 15th, there have been 25 civilian fatalities up north and nearly 5,400 structures that have been destroyed. And sadly, we learned today that a firefighter died fighting the El Dorado fire. That's the fire that started up near Yucaipa a couple of weeks ago. In San Bernardino. There are no other details right now other than a firefighter went missing yesterday and unfortunately was found deceased today. As of today, there are over 18,500 firefighters from not just California, but around the United States and even from some other countries on the front lines of 27 major fires and 3 extended attack fires. San Diego County has contributed to the wildfire battle statewide through local government, starting with the Apple Fire, August 1st. We've had 5 to 6 strike teams and about 60 to 70 overhead personnel deployed. That's about 230 personnel out of San Diego County. And CAL FIRE in San Diego County has had 5 strike teams and over 60 overhead personnel deployed. That's about another 170 personnel sent out of San Diego County. As you know, we've had our own major fire in East County that burned over 17,000 acres. Unfortunately, that fire is 90% contained. We've had some better weather that's assisted with that fire. However, red flag warnings continue throughout parts of the state due to gusty winds, low humidity, and critical low fuel moisture. During the red flag warnings that we had recently, we had between 1 and 3 pre-positioned additional strike teams and task forces in place throughout the county, East County, San Diego Metro, and up in North County, to have a surge capacity. But as you know, in San Diego County, in the fall months of October and November, those have been historically challenging, not just in our county, but throughout Southern California, when those hot, dry Santa Ana winds present even more danger. So as bad as fire season has been, and we've had people out for a long, long time and fatigue is setting in, we're not even halfway through this year. And the outlook, well, we've had almost no typical summer monsoon rainstorms this summer, and the La Nina pattern is expected to continue through the next few months through the winter with little or no moisture. So I wish I had better news, but unfortunately we're ready. We need to be ready for the long haul as it goes with fire season. So the takeaways for this group: the fire department, local, state, federal, and tribal are consistently coordinating and communicating with a forward-leaning posture, staffing up and pre-positioned resources. And our public safety partners, including law enforcement and county OES, are just absolutely critical. And we are super fortunate in our county to have one of the best emergency planning and operations relationships with all those agencies. And we continue to balance the assistance to other communities while they're experiencing fires, while ensuring we are protecting our own county as well. Specifically from the San Diego County Fire Chiefs Association, a couple of items to highlight. We've had an additional, through grant funding, additional few VHF radio repeaters put on mountaintops throughout the county, which enhance the ability to communicate on wildland fires. We've had additional alert wildfire cameras, and that speeds up intelligence, decision-making, and mobilization. And if you don't know or haven't visited, I'd highly encourage you to take a look at the website alertwildfire.org/SDG&E. And you have a live instant view of cameras situated on hilltops throughout the county. And again, that helps us determine whether a reported fire, what the severity is, what's happening, and to mobilize at a much faster rate. One other item I'd like to highlight, and that's the California hand crew crisis. And this is specific to CAL FIRE because CAL FIRE has always historically had inmate hand crews that are available to work on those fire lines. And they're essential for containment. As great as aircraft are, you know, just like in the military, it's the boots on the ground that actually do the hard, dirty work that get the containment of the fire done and then put the fires out. And those hand crews are essential. But for a variety of reasons, the inmate levels at our conservation camps in the state are very low and dropping. Statewide, CAL FIRE reports that they're likely to lose 40 inmate hand crews. And in San Diego County, you know, 10 years ago, we had up to 19 hand crews at 4 camps in the county. And right now there are only 6. And that's just due to the level of available hand crew members for those camps. CAL FIRE has added paid staff hand crews throughout the state. In San Diego County, they've added 2. But you can tell by those numbers that we just have a lack of resources right now. And that is also presenting a challenge with these fires statewide. So that is my report. I apologize it was a little bit lengthy. I'll take any questions, and otherwise that's the end of the report.
Thank you so much, Chief. I really appreciate the in-depth report. I know the wildfires are probably on a lot of our minds, and getting that update from you is extremely valuable. Our hearts go out to the family members of those lost and all the people working to save their homes and save their communities. It feels like we're already in the thick of fire season, and as you said, it hasn't really even started. Do we have any comments from the public on this?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, and any board member comments? I'm not seeing any, so we will go back and check in with Chief K for item number 4. Are you ready for us now?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your patience. The Chiefs and Sheriffs Management Committee met on Wednesday, September 2nd. Interim ARGIS Director Craig Carter noted ARGIS will be conducting a cost model on ARGIS fees and is asking for volunteers. So that was taken care of at the meeting. An update was provided on the status of the transition from the National Incident-Based Reporting System, or NIBRS, how we're going to get there, and the next steps plans for its regional adoption. The Management Committee approved ARGIS to update the current California Law Enforcement Telecommunications System, or CLETS. The application requests approval to move the region's COPLINK data to the NLETS cloud, and as we transition to COPLINK X. ARGIS staff reported on the progress of the Urban Area Security Initiative, or UASI funded e-citation and desktop experience, the DEX project, which is being initiated right now. The next Management Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, October 7th, 2020. That is all.
Thank you so much, Chief. Any comments from the public on this?
I do not see any hands raised.
Any member comments? All right, then we will jump back over to item 6, 2020 mid-year crime statistics in the San Diego region. An overview of mid-year 2020 regional crime statistics will be presented. Sandy Keaton, this item's yours.
Great. Good afternoon, Chair Frank and committee members. I'm here today to present information on mid-year crime, which is part of our series of crime bulletins that we produce annually. Before I start, though, I really want to thank all of you again for your partnerships, as this regional information, as well as many of our other products, would not be possible without your cooperation and partnership, as well as the relationships we've built with your analysts and staff. I know you've heard it before, but it's always worth repeating. San Diego County really is a leader in collaboration and recognizing the value of us all working together versus in silos. So truly grateful for that. Thank you. So what are we going to hear today? The mid-year crime reflects the first part of 2020, which of course is January through June. The rates are annualized per 1,000, but the numbers are for the first 6 months. Data are provided for the region as a whole, but also by each jurisdiction. We're going to be covering part 1 crimes. For violent crimes, that includes rape, robbery, aggravated assaults, and homicide. And for property crimes, that's burglary, larceny, and motor vehicle thefts. Also, because of COVID and all that has happened in 2020, the data are also broken down by month. So some factors to keep in mind when looking at this information, especially given COVID, of course. Oh, wait, did that not? Wait, I think we're behind. Did I go? I went over that one. Can we go to slide 3? Thank you. Sorry for that. So here's some events to consider when reviewing the data. Of course, the stay-at-home orders, which led to fewer people driving, being on the streets, in the mall, fewer cars in parking lots, and therefore less opportunity maybe to be victims of certain crimes. The social isolation. We've heard from victim advocates and law enforcement a concern about possible increases in stress that could contribute to more or serious domestic violence incidents and or family violence. Related to this is the reduced contact with mandated reporters, especially with the schools being closed. Finally, there have been changes in policies that have helped reduce individuals detained or incarcerated in efforts to protect them from COVID. So it's also really important to keep in mind when we're presenting these data that not all crimes come to the attention of law enforcement, and some less than others. According to the National Victim Survey in 2019, about 2 in 5 violent crimes were reported, which is pretty much the same rate across years, as well as about 1/3 of property crimes. Within each of these buckets, though, you see there is a variance in which type of crimes are more often reported, with, for instance, violent crime, rapes are the least likely to be reported compared to robberies and aggravated assaults. As in property crime, other thefts, which often include things like larceny, theft of cars, bicycles, and such, were least likely compared to motor vehicle thefts. So what do we know about 2020? Again, we're experiencing very low crime rates. We're on track to be the lowest rate over the last 40 years. Last year, the rate was 3.40 at this time. And as you can see, midway through again this year, we are at 3.20 per 1,000 residents. This was the lowest rate in the past 10 years of mid-year crime. Let's look a little closer now at these data. Overall violent crime was down by 4% for the first 6 months. Aggravated assaults, which account for the majority of violent crimes, about 2/3, and they were up just 1% compared to the same period in 2019. The number of reported rapes was down 20%. Now remember though, only about 1/4 of rapes were reported in 2019. And this decrease aligned actually with overall national rates during the same time, which saw a decrease of about 18%. Obviously what stands out in this slide is the 37% increase in homicides, which in actual numbers is 38 during the first half of 2019 compared to 52 in the first half of 2020. There were actually a total of 86 homicides in 2019. This trend has also been noted nationally, with homicides being up 50% the first half of 2020 as well across the nation. Turning our focus to the jurisdictions, we could see that 9 jurisdictions experienced the decrease of violent crime rates, and 7 experienced increases in violent crime rates. And there were a handful that there were not enough incidents to calculate rates. So I think this data analysis by month is actually one of the more interesting parts of this entire mid-year crime this year, given COVID. Looking at when the homicides occurred monthly, we see that between March and June, you had the greatest number of homicides per month, 10 or 11. And with the exception of February, each month exceeded the previous year in 2019, the first those months. Digging more deeply into the data, when motivation was known, arguments were again the most common precipitating reason for a homicide, which aligned with 2019. However, all of the reasons vary greatly in 2019, with decreases in domestic violence, with no homicide motives reported, and gang-motivated homicides also noting a decrease. However, about 2 to 4 times more motives were attributed to other reasons and also robberies. The table to your right on that basically breaks down the actual number of homicides per jurisdiction, with only Carlsbad having a decrease, which was just by 1. Not just, it's a human life, but I'm just wanting to give you perspective of where the jurisdiction of homicides occurred. Again, the new analysis by month shows that during the months of COVID, there were substantial decreases in the number of rape cases. And we're keeping in mind that about a quarter of rape cases, at least in 2019, were reported. But this, it can't help beg the question of reflecting the stay-at-home orders, which shut down the colleges, bars, restaurants, and other social distance mechanisms that were put in place during this period. Robbery overall was down 10%. And again, the trend is down during the months of COVID. The largest decreases were evident during the strictest period, which was April and May, and with a slight uptick in June. Aggravated assault, the most common violent crime, had a slightly different pattern with lower rates in March and April and increases in June. And remember, in June is when we started to lighten up some of the stay-at-home orders before we shut down again. There were fewer domestic violence incidences reported. And again, as I noted earlier, there were concerns regarding from advocates and law enforcement agencies regarding not only possible increases in severity, but just the lack of reporting or underreporting because of a lack of exposure to support systems or mandated reporters who would be able to recognize a family that may be in distress and report it. Now turning our attention to property crime. During the first 6 months, we see a continued decrease in the annualized crime rates. For context, in 2019, the rate was the lowest in 40 years at 16.48, which is higher than what we see in the first 6 months. So again, we are on track to have another record low year in property crimes if this pattern can persist. Across the board, we see decreases on all categories, with larceny leading the path in those decreases. Across jurisdictions, 13 jurisdictions experienced a decrease in their property crime rates during the first 6 months compared to 2019, and 6 jurisdictions had increases. Those are in the blue. Again, turning our attention to month to month, we see possibly how COVID could be influencing crime. Oh, can you please switch the slide? There we go. Thank you. During COVID months, we see decreases in residential burglary, which is consistent with more people being home. And then conversely, we see increases in non-residential burglary, which is also consistent with fewer folks being at their place of businesses and out and about. Larceny, the most prevalent crime, was down substantially, especially during our strictest stay-at-home orders. You see throughout April and May, and a slight uptick against in June when we start to see some of those orders lift. Historically, the most common crime for larceny is for motor vehicles, followed by buildings and then shoplifting. These data clearly show how the closures of stores and businesses and the associated reduction of cars and parking lots has affected property crime. But it also reflects what we've seen throughout the region with more individuals using bikes and biking around, with an increase on the theft of bikes during this time period. There you go. We're not sure about this pattern. Across the board, there were decreases that were pretty similar from the first year, with a increase in June of 23%. That is all I have. Open to questions and appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I think this is definitely gave us a lot of information to consider. Are there any comments from the public?
Chair, I don't see any hands raised. Thank you.
Okay, and do we have any comments from board members? I don't see any, so we will move on. Thank you again, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Now we are on to item 7, National Incident-Based Reporting System Update. An update on regional progress made in transitioning from the Uniform Crime Report to National Incident-Based Reporting System, or NIBRS, will be presented. Caroline Stevens, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so good afternoon, Chair Frank and committee members. My name is Caroline Stevens, and I'm a senior research analyst with SANDAG and ARGIS. Today, I would like to provide you with a brief introduction to the National Incident-Based Reporting System, or NIBRS, and explain how this program will improve our ability to understand crime trends throughout the region for years to come. So let's begin with the basic question of what is NIBRS. NIBRS is a federal reporting system for law enforcement agencies to report crime cases and arrests to the U.S. Department of Justice and the FBI. This system was first introduced back in 1991. However, as of 2018, only 44% of U.S. law enforcement agencies that participate in national crime reporting send their data in NIBRS format. Under NIBRS, each agency will send individual incident reports for 52 different types of crimes and the arrests that result from those crime cases. These offense classifications, as NIBRS calls them, will include every type of crime from aggravated assault to animal cruelty to human trafficking to weapons law violations. Also, for each crime reported, agencies will send 58 pieces of information or data elements about that incident to the FBI on a live real-time interface designed by ARGIS. So why are we transitioning to NIBRS? There are several key reasons for this. The most important of these is that our current reporting system, the UCR Summary Reporting System, will be retired on January 1, 2021. After this date, the FBI will only accept and process NIBRS data. But another important factor to consider here is that NIBRS represents the analytic future of crime reporting in the nation. NIBRS allows for more detailed data collection with better context, improved accuracy, and faster data delivery to the public. Additionally, complying with NIBRS will allow our law enforcement agencies to apply for more grant programs and increase allocations on grants they have already received. For example, in 2021, at least 4 of our ARGIS member agencies will receive 5% more funds on their JAG grants because they are NIBRS compliant. Finally, NIBRS will improve the detail and accuracy of crime incident data and improve regional crime data understanding. And NIBRS will change the way we discuss crime trends as a region. So this begs the question, what were we doing before NIBRS? Currently, we report crime to the state and federal government using the Uniform Crime Reporting Summary Reporting System, as you just saw from Sandy's presentation. This was reported in 1929 to track crime reporting for just 8 offense categories. This was later updated to 10 offense categories, and as you can see in the visual to the right, which is a picture from our original SRS UCR crime reporting handbook, we only reported on murder, robbery, rape, ag assault, burglary, larceny, theft, and motor vehicle theft to begin with. And also this system uses the hierarchy rule, meaning we only capture the most serious offense within an incident. So now that we kind of understand both systems, let's compare them a little bit. Basically under summary, we were sending 12 tabular style monthly reports to the state and federal government on just 10 types of crime, reporting just 1 offense per crime incident with just 6 little pieces of information about each incident. And under NIBRS, we're going to be sending 1,000+ data transactions to the FBI daily on all different types of crime, 52 different offense classifications with 10 offenses reported per incident, and 58 pieces of information about each crime. NIBRS captures details on every single crime incident as well as separate offenses within the same incident, including information on victims, known offenders, relationships between victims and offenders, arrestees, property involved in crimes. And unlike data reported under UCR SRS system, which just gives us an aggregate tally of crimes, NIBRS goes deeper because of its ability to provide circumstances and context for crimes like location, time of day, and whether the incident was cleared or not. So now that we kind of understand the macro level, let's look at one incident and just see how these two different systems would report this crime. So I drew out this little scenario for you, but basically two suspects walk into a 7-Eleven. Suspect 1 pulls out a handgun and demands cash from the store clerk. Suspect 2 stands by the door, and as the customer walks in the door, he hits and knocks the customer to the floor. Suspect 1 takes money from the clerk and shoots him in the arm as he leaves. And as he leaves, he also shoots the customer who's trying to get up from the floor. As suspect 2 leaves, he takes some merchandise from the store. So as you can see, there's a lot going on here. And under summary, we only would have reported the 211 or the robbery. Let's look at this in a slightly different format so that you can see kind of how this would be mapped out under NIBRS. Sorry, next slide. Yes. So as you can see from this slide, the reporting agency would report 5 separate offenses under NIBRS here. And under summary, we only would have reported the highest one or the top one. So it's really clear that under summary, we're just skimming the surface of what's going on in crime. And with NIBRS, we collect a far more rich and robust data set. Now I just want to provide you with a brief overview of all the important work which the ARGIS team and our local law enforcement partners have poured into this project. So starting in October 2016, ARGIS received the NIBRS grant in cooperation with SDPD to build out a NIBRS reporting system and platform for the whole region. By the first half of 2017, the ARGIS team began collecting all the necessary NIBRS data fields and performed a gap analysis to ensure that we were collecting all the right information for the FBI. In the second half of 2017, we began integrating this data into our existing ARGIS environment, which is a complex SQL database and system of SQL databases. And in 2018, our team built, edited, and improved a real-time interface to transmit NIBRS data to the FBI. And I just want to note the incredible efficiency related to ARGIS completing this project for the region, because instead of each individual agency having to build out an interface to the FBI, ARGIS was able to build one real-time information highway for the entire region, which is just another way that we save time and money for our agencies. So in the second half of 2018, our team built out separate NIBRS reporting databases and several NIBRS applications for our agencies to review and provide quality control over the data. And all through 2019 and the first half of 2020, we have been editing and improving these interfaces and applications, and also improving our business rules and data efficiency. And just recently in August 2020, after carefully reviewing 6 months of test data with the FBI data technicians, we received notice that we have obtained official NIBRS certification for the region, which is a huge milestone for our team at ARGIS and our partner law enforcement agencies. So this graph represents our current FBI NIBRS acceptance rates for July 2020. As you can see, all participating agencies are currently above the 98% threshold. And that what this means is that our incidents are complete, correct, and formatted according to FBI technical specifications. So it means that we're getting the data to the right place in the right format, which is, it sounds like a simple thing, but it's actually a big milestone. So what does this certification mean for our region in a larger sense? First and foremost, this means that we have hit the federal deadline to become NIBRS compliant when reporting crime data roughly 5 months ahead of schedule. Second, that this is going to change our current crime reporting process and modernize the way we report crime statistics in the region. On January 1, 2021, our region will stop reporting summary data to the FBI, and we will begin officially reporting NIBRS data to the FBI to avoid intermingling the two very different crime reporting systems. And just in case you want to know, from now until January, we're going to continue testing and improving the data. We're still kind of in that testing phase before we move to production with the FBI. And then also another important note here is that we are the first region in the state of California to do this. And this makes us and our local law enforcement agencies trailblazers for the state in this important transition. So what are the next steps for this project? ARJIS staff will continue to work with participating NIBRS agencies to build out standard NIBRS reports. And for those agencies that aren't participating right now, we're also going to work with them to get them on board. This process of building out these standard reports is very important because it helps our crime analysts and our command staff review and understand their new reporting platform and NIBRS data. Additionally, we're going to continue to improve the interface efficiency and to identify errors that could impact NIBRS acceptance rates. And we're also going to begin building out a NIBRS data website, which I'll highlight on the next slide. And we're going to continue working with the Applied Research Department to develop an annual summary of NIBRS crime data and crime trends. And lastly, we will partner with the state of California to provide our regional NIBRS data to the state for their CYBRS or California NIBRS program as soon as they're ready to move forward. So I just wanted to take a moment and highlight some of the features that our SANDAG ARJIS NIBRS public data website will provide access to. And we have about a 2-year rollout for this right now, but once this is ready, not only will people have access to the details of daily real-time crime incidents in kind of a tabular format, but you'll also be able to generate maps, charts, and tables on complex variables and fields. And you'll be able to relate like property to people, things like that that you weren't able to do with summary data. This website is going to allow students, reporters, and all types of citizens to understand crime trends in their neighborhoods and their areas of interest just days after the events occur. And of course, we'll be removing all sensitive, personally identifying information to protect victims' rights and rights to privacy. So in summary, transitioning to NIBRS is an important shift in contemporary policing and how we report crime data. NIBRS will help us to meet the growing demand for information, accountability, and transparency that comes with police data and crime data. It'll help us to better understand and organize the massive volume of information that comes with crime data. And perhaps most importantly, as former FBI Director James Comey said, NIBRS will help us to prevent crime and urge us to have thoughtful, data-driven, and informed conversations about crime at the regional and national levels. So thank you so much for listening to this presentation. With that, I'll take any questions and comments.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I know this has been quite the undertaking, and I love hearing that we're being trailblazers in the state. And also the portion of it is going to be publicly accessible, so people really have an ability to see the crime in their own communities and you know, kind of take that information and not rely on just what they're think is happening. So with that, do we have any comments from the members of the public?
Thank you, Chair. I see no hands raised from the public.
And Public Safety Committee members, any comments? I don't see any. So finally, we will move on to item 8, San Diego Metropolitan Transit System Fare Evasion Diversion Program Pilot. An overview of the pilot Fare Evasion Diversion Program being implemented by the San Diego Metropolitan Transit System will be presented. Hi, Karen. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
MTS General Counsel will be presenting the item. Off to you, Karen.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So as Councilmember Frank said, we are presenting today on MTS's new Fare Evasion Diversion Program. It is a 12-month pilot that the MTS board recently approved. If you could go to the next slide. Thank you. So just to set the stage, you know, MTS does have code compliance inspectors who enforce our fare and other ordinances. And previously, before this pilot, what would happen if you were issued a citation for not having a valid fare on MTS Transit is that a first and second violation is a $75 fine. It actually gets reduced to $25 bail at the court, but when you go to court, there's all sorts of additional fees that get added on. And so really the minimum amount of a citation that a member of the public would have to pay is over $177. Our fare evasion and other citation programs have been eligible for resolution in San Diego Homeless Court program, but that's not necessarily known by a lot of people. And then we've had some other, ongoing limited exceptions. We've had a juvenile diversion program for quite a while that we've partnered with the juvenile court on. We do have an expedited way to prove that you were validly using a senior disabled Medicare discount card. And then we've always accepted case-by-case requests for dismissal. But next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about what our diversion program is. So in response to some request from a member of the public for us to not criminalize fare evasion. There was a lot of concern that one court case can balloon into significant fines and records that for people who maybe at the time they received their fare violation were just not at a point in their life that they could address it, but that if they do overcome homelessness or substance addiction or any of those types of issues and start to put their life back together, to have a court case and fines from a fare evasion, people felt that that was inequitable. And so what our MTS board asked us to do was to look for some options of what we could do for our fare enforcement, where we could still protect MTS's need for people to pay a fare when they ride transit, but to address some of these more community civil justice issues. So what the board did is that they approved a diversion program one-year pilot that we rolled out on September 1st. And what that pilot starts with is that actually, if you are found without a valid fare, the first step is that our officer will allow you to purchase a fare on the spot. That would either be by getting off the trolley and purchasing a ticket at the ticket vending machine. If the person has a smartphone and is able to download our Compass Card app, they would also, our Compass Cloud app, they would also be able to purchase a fare that way as well. If they're not willing to pay a fare on the spot, then they would be issued a citation. And our program then offers some pre-court ways to resolve that, which is paying a reduced fine, community service, and limited appeal, which I'll walk through. So next slide. So for the reduced fine, we give the citation gives you 120 days to pay that reduced fine. And it's reduced to $25. So instead of what you would see if you went to court of over $177, you paid $25. Right now, we're offering for it to be paid in person at the MTS Transit store, which is right at our 12th and Imperial Transit Station, or to pay by mail. We are looking at the option to provide an online payment if it looks like the program participation warrants that. Next slide. If you don't want to or are unable to pay the $25 fine, then you are able to instead complete community service. And that would need to be completed within the same 120-day time period. The requirement is 3 hours of community service. And right now we're partnering with both the San Diego Food Bank and the various homeless court program providers to offer and supervise that community service. And we certainly are open to adding additional providers, just as long as we can make sure that they can accept our fare citation individuals and report back to us appropriately. So next slide. And so then the last element of the actual program is that we are offering an unlimited appeal within 15 days of citation. So if somebody got a fare evasion citation, but they actually had paid their fare, or tried to pay a fare and it was the fault of MTS systems that they were not able to, then we provide an opportunity for them to submit that proof. We will investigate it, and if we can find evidence that they did have a paid fare, or that a ticket vending machine at a particular station at a particular day or time was not working, then we would grant that appeal and we would dismiss the citation at that point. If we deny the appeal, then that just kicks the citation back into the rest of the diversion program, where they can either pay a fine or complete the community service within that original 120-day window. Next slide. If no action is taken on the citation within that 120-day period, then we transmit it to the San Diego Superior Court for the normal adjudication process, which includes all the due process that individuals are entitled to in court. And certainly, you know, there has always been financial assistance available upon request from the court for various fines, but that's all run by the court. MTS doesn't have any control over that. Next slide. So one other element that we're going to be doing as part of this pilot project is that we're really trying to increase our data collection and reporting capabilities, because we really weren't before able to provide a lot of detailed information on our citations, certainly what happens to them after they go into the court system. So we have set up that we will be collecting and then reporting back to the MTS Public Security Committee and the MTS Board of Directors on how the program is going. And we're going to be tracking all of the FAIR citations that have been issued, the participation in the diversion program, and which elements are being used most. And then, you know, we will be tracking the number of citations that are dismissed for successful completion of diversion versus how many are sent to court, and any other feedback received. So this could be a iterative process where if we get feedback during the pilot, we'll adjust the program to address those issues. Next slide. So you know, we see a lot of benefit from this program, and we're hoping that it's really a community asset. We are concerned about some potential fiscal impacts, and so that's another thing that we will be trying to track. You know, we're concerned about MTS's annual fare revenue, and that if, you know, somebody decides that there's no penalty for paying a fare, then that overall fare revenue would go down and fare evasion would go up. There had been some initial criticism that MTS just wanted the fine revenue that we received from the court. We receive about $220,000 a year in 2019 related to fines. Now, on one level, if people participate in the diversion program and pay the $25 fine, that would likely offset any lost fine revenue. That, of course, is very minimal in what our budget concerns are. We're not concerned that we're going to lose the court fine revenue. It's more about overall fare revenue. And then the diversion program right now, the costs are minimal. We're using existing department staff and budgets, and so there's been some minor printing costs for program materials. And you know, if we do implement the online payment function, there could be a cost with that, but it's pretty minimal as compared to the benefits of the program. Next slide. So the big issue that we will be tracking and reporting back to our board to the extent that we can is, will this program cause fare evasion to increase? MTS's July to December 2019 fare evasion rate was 2.87%, which frankly is amazing. I think it shows that San Diego as a community are generally rule followers and want to do the right thing, because we do have an honor system that you only get asked, at least on the trolley, for your fare if you come into contact with a code compliance inspector. And so it's really up to the population to, you know, do the right thing and buy their fare. But we have seen that some other agencies who have converted to more of an administrative process for fare citations, that their fare evasion rates have increased. And it's been an increase of between 2.7 and 11% that we were able to calculate. And so, you know, this could be attributable to other things, changing the nature of the penalty from criminal to civil, or if the agency decreased their enforcement measures as a part of it, or for other reasons. But that's just something we want to track, because for us, you know, a significant portion of our budget comes from fare revenue. So in pre-COVID times, our fiscal year 2020 budgeted fare revenue was $97 million. And so under our current fare evasion rate, that would be that about $2.8 million of loss from fare evasion is automatically built into our budget each year. But if our fare evasion increased, you know, even an additional 1%, that would be just under an extra, you know, $1 million every year of fare revenue that we would lose. And so the 2.7 to 11% increase in fare evasion spread could equal a $2.6 to $10.7 million loss, which would be significant for MTS. So we're going to be trying to track that. It will be a lot more difficult for us this year just because overall our ridership is also down because of the pandemic. And so, you know, we're trying to collect data and see if there's some statistically valid ways to kind of apportion if there's fare revenue loss, if it's to pandemic or overall economic issues, or if it's related to this program. And if so, is there any strategies that MTS could employ to prevent that? So next slide. So last is really just that, you know, we've implemented it. We started it on September 1st, so it's still pretty new, only about 2 weeks old. We have trained all the officers, and we're really looking to use the program as a de-escalation technique during those fare enforcement contacts. That somebody may be upset that they got stopped, that they got a citation, but by explaining to them this diversion program, that will de-escalate some of the tension from that contact. And, you know, various things that we did is we developed a citation envelope and other forms that explain the program. We've got a new website as well as an online appeal submission form. We issued some news releases and other marketing tools to advertise it. And our transit store employees are really good at now educating participants about what their options are for the program. And so we'll just be tracking it over the several months and see how successful it can be. And that completes my presentation. I'm available for any questions if there are.
Thank you so much, Karen. I will check if we have any comments from the public.
No, Chair, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, we will move to member comments. I'm not seeing any, so that will be it. Oh, Mayor Sotelo Solis, you're on.
Thank you so much, Chair Frank. I just wanted to, again, commend staff for sharing this update with our Public Safety Committee. And again, it's one of those forward-thinking policies where, you know, we don't want a $25 fine to define you know, the credit ratings of those that are really trying to either get to work or for whatever reason didn't get the, you know, swipe their card properly. And it's really giving, one, the benefit of the doubt, but two, saying, hey, these are ways that you can find that kind of like the restitution, be able to make it up to the community. And so I appreciate, you know, staff's willingness and you know, support for this type of program. Again, it's a pilot program. We really want to see where it goes from here. But again, as an MTS, as the MTS vice chair, and then a member of this committee, I think it's this type of thinking that we've heard in the past from past presenters, whether it be the cool beds put on by South Bay Community Services, really recognizing the mentorship of Star Pal. It's thinking outside the box and how we can engage people where they're at. And this is one way to do that. So thank you again to MTS staff. Thank you, Karen. And thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to address this item.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Are there any other member comments? Not seeing any. So with that, this is an information only item. So thank you very much again, Karen, and we'll move on to item 9, continued public comments. Do we have any from the public?
Thank you, Chair. I don't see any hands raised for public comment.
Fantastic. With that, our next Public Safety Committee meeting is currently scheduled for Friday, October 16th, 2020 at 1 p.m. And we are adjourned. Thank you all.